us cheered long and hard in the summer, of course, when our Paralympic athletes brought home the medals. But 4 months on, what legacy have the Games left behind?
A poll for breakfast suggests 3/4 of Britons feel that perceptions of disabled people have improved since the Paralympics, but people with disabilities were less likely to agree, as Jenny Hill has been finding out.
They became national heroes, the Paralympians, whose achievements, it seems, go far beyond the pitch or pool.
Could you share some chips nicely? Yep.
Take Philip, who has Down syndrome. Already his family say something's changed.
It's very much about what people can do, and the more that I learn through this journey with Philip, he shows me what he is capable of doing. And people are now beginning to embrace that as well, which is so encouraging.
It's estimated 1 in 5 people in the UK have a long-standing mental or physical disability. Now, since the Paralympics, 75% of the people we questioned say they now feel more positive about the role those people play in British society.
Overall, a similar number believe perceptions of disabled people have improved, but of those questioned, those with a disability were less likely to agree. Rona fears she's just seen as lazy. She's had multiple sclerosis for nearly 20 years.
There are people who think, well, if she can get a gold medal, why can't that person work? What is needed is not just concentrating on the sport and building on that, but all the other things that are needed for disabled people to be able to fulfil what they can do.
I think there has been a positive uplift in terms of how disabled people are viewed. It's whether it goes beyond the end of this year, I think is quite interesting. I think probably a lot of disabled people don't see as much change as the rest of the population expect there to be, because there still is an awful lot of very low-level discrimination.
In fact, it's believed 2/3 of disabled people experience hostility or verbal abuse, and they're more likely to live below the poverty line. One leading charity claims more than 2 million fear they can't afford to heat their homes this Christmas. For Philip and his family, though, the Paralympics remain a powerful memory.
Every time somebody won a gold medal for Great Britain, I always go, I hope that's Philip in 20 years.
And many are optimistic about the longer-term Paralympic legacy. The Games challenged a mindset, and for some, this is just the beginning. Jenny Hill, BBC News.
Well, we're joined now by Ian McRae and Martin Sibley, who both write and campaign on disability issues. Very good morning to both of you. Martin, can I just ask you, first of all, that sentiment we heard at the end of that report, it's a lovely, it's a warm, fuzzy feeling, isn't it? It's a lovely thought. There's that little brother thinking about his brother and how he could come on and do things. How does that translate into disabled people's real lives?
Sure, I think that is the difficulty. We all saw the amazing euphoria of the Paralympics, and I think everyone across the board is feeling on a high afterwards. But yeah, I think there is obviously still a lot of discrimination out there just to get on public transport, to get into employment, to live a normal everyday life. That's the bit we still need to take forward.
Do you sense something? I mean, I know you write about these things, but have you seen things happening differently? The way people respond to you, or has anything changed?
I think attitudes have definitely improved. I've noticed a warmer feeling from the public. Definitely, just being out everyday life in shops and in bars, there's definitely a more positive, sort of open, welcoming feeling. But again, it's how do we take that sort of willingness to move forward, but actually, change it with tangible things.
Ian, is that the same for you, that you can see a difference in attitudes but would like to see more things change? What do you feel?
I think that the thing to remember is the Paralympics actually happened in this bubble of kind of hyper-reality. And if disabled people weren't going to look good after that, then we were pretty much a lost cause, really, But the fact is, Martin's absolutely right. Nothing much has actually changed in disabled people's lives. Though we have to be aware of, having said that people will then say, oh, here we go, they're moaning again, Well, all we can do is deal with the reality. We all dealt with the reality of those marvellous moments with Dave Weir, Johnny Peacock and Ellie Simmons and that, and loved it, absolutely loved it to bits. But when you come out of all that, we've still got, more than 50% of disabled people unemployed, too many of us living in poverty on benefits, and we're being misrepresented by a government so that people are finding themselves threatened because of the way in which they're perceived as people on benefits.
And I'm interested in, I mean, obviously we referred to the amazing successes of blind athletes, for example, and you are a blind man. Now, do you think there's a danger that people kind of think about these people separately from the way they think about you? So they think about these amazing athletes who they've seen doing extraordinary things with their disabilities,
no,
and separate that out completely from the people they see who might live down the road.
I think that would be wonderful if they did that, because, you know, Johnny Peacock has about as much in common with me as Mo Farah does with you, Charlie. You know, which is very much. But I think what's happened is actually we've been hearing stories at Disability Now, the website that we run, of people who are actually being approached in the street and being, you know, so when are you going to start doing Paralympic sport then? You know, people with quite kind of, you know, severe impairments and challenging conditions. And the public are just assuming that they can all start getting out there and winning gold medals by the hatful.
Yes, and that's not obviously that's not the case. As you make the point, Ian, Martin, we are not going to be athletes either, are we?
No. I mean, I think come back to that everyday life angle. The magazine that I've been running for the last couple of years called Disability Horizon.
Yes.
That is a lifestyle magazine, so we are trying to, you know, sort of encapsulate the successes and achievements of disabled people. So that's sort of trying to translate the Paralympic euphoria into a more everyday sense. But what a lot of people don't realise is those achievements don't come easily. Even if someone like myself is able to go on a road trip around Europe, which I did about a month ago, there's actually a lot of things going with social care, funding my wheelchair, you know, all of the things that go on behind the scenes. So I think it's about raising awareness to the public about the reality of being disabled.
Can I ask one other thing, which is, I don't know what your experience is, but I sense maybe there's a generational difference, which is that the younger generation, possibly the ones who grew up watching the Paralympics, maybe they do have a genuinely different attitude to disability than older generations. So do you think there's anything in that, or is that slightly rose-tinted?
I was kind of hoping that wasn't going to come up, but I definitely see in Martin what I was like, and this is not being remotely patronising, you know, to Martin, and he knows that, but you know, I definitely see in Martin the kind of idealism and hope that I had when I was his age. Now, you know, I try to kind of deal with the cold, hard reality of it. We try and represent disabled people's lives as best we can through the website, and that's our way of raising awareness, is to say to people, look, you know, the Paralympics is really all well and good, and everybody, as I say, loved it, but look at what the real situations are like for disabled people.
Very interesting talking to you both. Thank you so much.
Good thought to leave it with Martin, Ian, both thank you very much.
Thank you.
8:28 is the time now. Let's see what's coming up. BBC